Okay. So good evening to all our participants. I'm Anupama Thakur and I'm the chair of IEEE AcSIR-CSIO student branch, which is located at CSIR-CSIO Chandigarh. And I welcome you all to our IEEE virtual talk series. And today we have a talk on which is focused on software quality assurance. And today we have pleasure to get in an esteemed speaker, and I would like to briefly introduce our speaker to all of you. So today we have with us Dr. Palvinder Singh Mann, and Sir is working currently as assistant professor at Department of Information Technology at DAV Institute of Engineering and Technology, Jalandhar, Punjab. Sir has done his PhD in Computer Science and Engineering in 2017 from PTU and MTech in Computer Science and Engineering in 2010. And he has done his BTech with honors with the Institute Gold Medal from Kurukshetra University, Haryana. And he has authored more than 60 research publications. And he is also the reviewer for various journals, including IEEE Communication Magazine, IEEE Access, etc. And he's a member of various professional societies, including IEEE, life member of ISTE, Punjab Academy of Sciences, Computer Society of India, and many more. And he's also the recipient of various awards. I will just include briefly. So he has achieved a certificate for excellence in MTech. He has received the certificate of recognition by Infosys Campus Connect program and many more. So with this brief intro, I welcome you, sir, for your talk. Over to you, sir.
Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Thank you so much, ACSIR and CSIO IEEE student branch to giving me an opportunity to interact with you. Today I'm going to have a very exciting topic on software quality insurance, which is very important as far as quality insurance and quality product is concerned. This topic is very subjective in nature because the quality of a product is what a customer will define. Because the quality is a product issue and it has to be defined in a very particular manner. Today, we are going to specifically focus on software quality assurance issues, like we are going to have some issues and challenges which are present for software quality, and the insurance part is there, which has been addressed by various benchmarks like ISO, CMM, Six Sigma. And these benchmarks, they are industry standards and they are applicable to the across product defined line. So if I talk about the quality of a product is basically defined by quality which it exhibit to define its borderline. Suppose if we are talking about automobile sector, quality is a big issue. You have seen so many times big companies, they can recall their vehicles for a major revamp or a major servicing or a product exchange. This is basically the part of the quality insurance because they want to ensure that the customer will get back the best one. It may hamper their uh, profits in a short span, but ultimately they will gain in repeat business. So quality is very important as far as any vertical is concerned. But today we are going to talk about the software vertical, which is very competitive in nature, because in the software development domain we have repeat business, which can be which can be defined by the quality of products that has been delivered to the customers or the clients already in the line. So today we are going to discuss some aspects which are very important as far as software product quality is concerned and software insurance is concerned. So today I will share some key points which are concerned with the software insurance and the quality of the product which is being defined or being developed by a particular cycle. So if we focus on issue, what is a definition or what is a parameter which can define the quality of a product? So basically the fitness of a particular product define the quality. If the fitness is good, we can say that the quality of the product is very defined. So in case of software development life cycle, or in the case of software development, we can say that validation of the software requirements specification is compiled to the validation process, which ultimately mean for the quality. So suppose we will define some specification in the in the initial level when a vendor will fetch some product from the client. So SRS basically a legal document which has been signed across the client as well as with the vendor. So the client will ensure that these kind of things will be compiled at a larger scale at various domains. So if we see that the validation requirements of SRS document has been met, then it can define a fitness of a product. So a satisfactory definition of a quality of a product is being defined with the fitness it exhibit, and it vary from product to product. So if we see that how we can judge that a particular product is of a good quality, it doesn't mean that we are providing some type of functionality, it is good, or the quality of the product is good. If the functionality of the product is good and the user interface is not very pleasant, or it is not user friendly, so we cannot we can ensure that this particular product is of a good quality, right? So it means that we need to define all parameters which are very important for a quality insurance point of view. So alone functionality cannot work. We have different parameters, we have different verticals in software which can define the quality of the product. So suppose if a layman is there who is not user friendly, who is not very comfortable with the product, how to use it, then we cannot say that the quality of the product is being defined. We have to see by the perspective of the end customer, end user, right? So what are the parameters? These are very important. What are the quality parameters which are being looking into matter, looking into consideration while we are developing a particular product? So first thing is correctness. Definitely, whatever the product we are delivering must be correct. It will be giving the correct values corresponding to a particular inputs. If the input is valid, the output should be there. It should be correct. So it should be functionally correct. It should be it should perform all the functions which are supposed to be made for it. Otherwise, we cannot say that the quality of the product is good. Second thing is reliability. The product should be reliable. It will be applicable for all kind of products you use in your life. If you use any kind of product, you want it to be reliable. It should it should work with the passage of time. It should have durability, right? So the same thing also depend upon the software software development, the software products. Third thing is the efficiency. The product which has been developed but must be efficiently use all the kind of resources which it has. So if you are not utilizing the full optimal level of your memory or the product line or the platform, then the product is not of good quality, right? So you should measure the efficiency of the product by various kind of parameters, right? And resource utilization is very vital. If you are having your resources ideal, right, and they are not using the optimal product line, then the product cannot be quality one. Yes, portability is the next issue. Your product could be portable to different platforms easily. You should not have any rigidity, right? It should be flexible to move from one platform to another platform. Only then we can say that product is of good quality. We should have a feature of reusability. Yes, reusability is a feature which can be defined in a software product line in a very refined manner, because once you develop a particular code, you can reuse it for various other domains, for other platforms, or different verticals in the same product line. So reusability is another factor which can define the software quality product. Then maintainability is a big issue, because if you are not going to update it, if you are not going to maintain it, then definitely your product cannot be defined as a very productive or of good quality. So it is another big factor which can be it can be considered for a software quality measure. Then finally, I can press on affordability. This is a prime factor which I think that is must be there, because if the product is not affordable, you cannot ensure the widespread of the product and maximum utilization of the development. So whatever you develop with the affordability, and you give the best kind of product with affordable kind of thing, so that it can reach to the masses, right? And the quality of the product should not be compromised with the affordability. This is the prime factor. So what is software quality management system? Basically, in software, organizations, uh, they basically focus on to maintain good quality product by adopting various measures. So they have methodology which has been adopted and which has been refined time to time to refine their products. If they not focus on the quality of the product, definitely they would not fetch product again from the same client, which is called the repeat business in software industry. And you know that it is one of the most competitive vertical till date. So, what are the quality systems that has been maintained by various organizations? It will start from the managerial structure, right, and then it will down to the individual to fix the individual responsibility at the cross domain. Even starting from the chief technology officers, which is called the CTO, or the delivery manager, right? It will fix the responsibility of the program manager as well, and the program manager basically fix the responsibility of the team leader, and the team leader basically distribute that particular work in their particular team and fix the responsibility. So this is also a quality measure. You basically deliver the product within time and budget, which is one of the basically factor which basically affect the revenues and forecast for the software companies. So this is very important. And then you will fix the responsibility of the organization as a whole. This is very important factor because everything flow from top to bottom. So if your top management is aware about the quality issues and quality products, definitely the bottom part will cater to that. So as a whole organization, if you are following some benchmarks, it should be flown from top to bottom. So, what are the activities that will be involved in ensuring the software quality of the products? The first thing is that auditing. Yes, it is very important. Auditing of the project is very vital aspect. We have so many consulting firms which are working on this part, like Deloitte, and we have KPMG, or we have Price, HouseCooper, PwC. So these are consulting firms which are basically made for the auditing part. Whatever you do, they audit it, and they will provide the feedback, and they will gap up the loopholes which are in the system. So this is very important. Then they have defined some standard benchmarks for themselves. If we talk about some industries, they have very high standards of working. Like in case of, I will be giving an example of Apple. Apple is basically defined its own benchmark, and basically they have delivered their products on their own terms. So if you see the case of this particular organization or the company, the products are basically made for their particular hardware, and they are coupled with their own softwares. So they will not share their code, they will not adopt their other codes, and they have a particular benchmark on which the company which will fetch larger base of customers. But affordability is the factor that I have listed for that particular case. Affordability is very crucial thing which that particular organization cannot take care of for the masses. So if we see the other part, we should have some production of reports which will be circulated to top to bottom management for the better delivery of the product and how we will refine the things. And lastly, we should have continuous review, which is very important because if you do not have a surveillance system and continuous reviews for a particular channel or organization, then it will not survive for long. Should have continuous feedback, continuous reviews, and continuous surveillance of the system. Then we will talk about how these systems have evolved with the passage of time. Evolution of a quality system is basically a standard which has been set 5 to 6 decades back. And if we talk at that particular time, the system was not very very fruitful. You have only inspection, and then you are basically going to eliminate the defects. This is probably the case. So you have various mechanism to detect the errors and correct them, but there is not a particular process which has been followed traditionally. So if you think about organization which are 5 to 6 decades back, they are involved in manufacturing, or they are in automobiles, or they may be in any particular sector. They will be having a very small set of instructions which are being there for quality assurance, and they're following a traditional method of inspecting and then eliminating the errors whenever they found it. So that was a case of that type of time, right? But now we have evolved from traditional to the modern quality systems, where we are basically focusing for the process rather than the product. So process is more important rather than the product. So modern quality systems, they will involve in various kind of things, and they are having various kind of steps which are being followed time to time. So generally we have 4 steps or 4 stages for modern quality assurance systems to be followed in the organization. So they are the inspection, then we have quality control, which is very important, and it will basically lead to the quality insurance. So when we mature from the quality control part, you go to the quality insurance, and finally there is a total quality management, which is today is basically the benchmarks they are being set for the total quality management. So we'll see what these things are and how the things will work on these evolution system in the 4 stages. So in case of inspection, this is generally the same way we are doing it. Previously we are having a inspection team which will be inspecting all the products, all the deliveries, all the manifestation which has been done for the particular product. So they are reviewing it. So this is a simple review which has been done across the system. In case of software quality, organization, we have an inspection team at various stages, right? We have inspection team right from the feasibility study, then to the design part, and then to the coding part, and then to the testing part. So we have different set of people who are inspecting the product at various stages, because see, the most important or crucial part is the system design, or the designing of software, which has been carried out by very experienced people like chief software architect or software architects, which is having experience of 15 to 20 years in the domain. So if that type of experience has been clubbed with other phases, then definitely the product will be very refined. So this is the first measures. Then we have a quality control. Quality control basically focus on detecting and eliminating the errors. So it can be done phase wise, or it can be done as a whole or a collective measure, right? But firms or organization, they will basically choose a better alternative, which is called a mixed kind of approach. Means you detect the errors in phased manner, and try to absorb it as it has been found, and at last, when all the modules they are being integrated, once again you basically detect and correct your errors at a large scale. So then we move on to the quality assurance. I told you back, once these things are compiled, inspection and quality control, we will move on to the quality assurance, which is basically qualitative measure of measuring the things. So quality assurance is a part which has been given some tagged phases, right? So you basically move on to the quality assurance department, and they will basically define you various terms, various procedures for a particular product. So if you are going to check the quality of the product, they have defined process. There are standard operating procedures, SOP, which is called SOP, right? So you have SOP for defining the quality and testing of a product, and you go for that particular things in a defined manner, and it basically it has been documented in a very defined manner, and finally it has been brought to the notice of the management, right? So this is the quality assurance, which has been apart from inspection and quality control, is a big kind of step in ensuring the quality of the product. And finally, we have TQM, which is called Total Quality Management, which is basically to optimize the process, to optimize the process which has been followed rigorously by various organizations to ensure the quality of the product. So in today's world, we basically look for the TQM, which is basically optimization of the resources as well. So TQM is something which is something to serve with the optimal level. So when you serve things at optimal level, definitely the things will become more mature. They become more defined. They become more effective, and definitely the quality of the product will be improved. So now we are working towards some standards or benchmarks which are being defined in the industry or organization, which are being used for quality parameters. So one of the standards are ISO standards. ISO is basically international standard for organization. These are in a consortium of 63 countries. They have a set of standard which has been channelized for various kinds of job. So people or organization, they look for the ISO standards, and they ensure that they follow a particular process for a particular quality of product. So today we will look at the various sections of ISO and how these parameters are being achieved for a particular organization for the quality of the process. So if I talk about ISO 9000 certification, so they are the guidelines for repeatable and high quality of products. So they define a particular process, they assess it, and then definitely they review it. So revision is basically a part of surveillance, right? So in case of ISO 9000, standard, we fix the responsibilities, we have reporting, we have procedures, we have processes which are being followed, and then we have a kind of guidelines which has been issued time to time, and it has been survived. So the thing is that you evolve from a product to a process through some guidelines, right? But the beauty of ISO certification is that any organization, any structure which follow a particular process can opt for a ISO certification. I will tell you, even a Dhabawala, they can also apply for ISO certification if they're following a particular process. We have seen so many, organization even in the government sector, right? We have seen some, police stations which are having a tag of ISO certification. So what is that? They are basically following a process, particular process which is being defined by ISO, and it has been regularly monitored. That's why they are being, certified as ISO 9000 or whatever standard, right? So if you talk about ISO 9000 particularly, it is not directly concerned about the product itself, right? So we basically talk about the process, right? And we basically, issue guidelines which are being followed for a particular product, and these guidelines are being monitored, time to time. So we have a set of series for these ISO standards. We have 9001 series, we have 9002 series, and we have 9003 series. These are applicable for various product families of channel. If you talk about ISO 9001, this is basically being applicable for organizations which are being involved in design and development of product, servicing of the product itself. So when we talk about servicing, in case of software industry, we have ITES, which is called IT enabled servicing sector, IT enabled services. So this is all servicing sector. You are serving some particular product to the clients, and this ISO 9001 is applicable to them. So if you are a software organization, if you are in the development of the product, if you are in the designing of the product, or maybe in the servicing of the product, you can apply for the ISO 9001 certification, and you will get certified for your particular product or a particular organization, right? So it will be applicable for the software organization, and it has a very flexible structure which has been adopted by various organizations. Then we have 9002 standards, which are basically meant for the organization which are involved in production. So they are not basically involved any designing part, so only production. So we have such kind of industries, like we have petrochemical industry, we have steel industries which are being involved in production, because they do not design any kind of product. So these type of standards, they are applicable for them. So if a company or organization which is involved in refining of the product, petrochemical or any kind of thing, you can apply for this kind of certification. And it is not applicable to the software development of organization, right? So, another set. Then we have 9003 certifications. Well, these certifications, they basically apply to a very particular set of organization which are involved in testing and installation of the product. So if we talk about the authorities which are being on testing, we have a Bureau of Indian Standard (BIS), you have heard this name. We have Indian Standard Institute (ISI), and we have Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, which is basically meant for food, the quality of the food product. So if you have a FSSAI, stamp on any food product, you can be sure that the product is of quality, right? Because these organizations, they are involved in checking the standards of the food quality of the product. We have BIS. BIS is basically meant for some specific kind of organizations or industry which are being in case of gold, you have BIS standards, right? Same cases with the ISI, we have some ISI marks which are being given to some particular type of industry. So if you are looking for any product like kitchen appliance, then you should have check the ISI mark there, right, for the quality of the ensure the quality of the product. So if these type of organizations are there, they will have ISO 9003 as certifications for their quality assurance. Then we have ISO 9000 and 2000 standards. These are basically the combination of 9001, 2, and 3. So they club these all three benchmark guidelines into one compiled manner, which is called ISO 9000 2000 series, and they basically analytically measure the effectiveness of the task and activities that are being done. So analytically, which is being considered as one of the analytical models, they're being considered one of the best till date, and they have analyzed the product on various parameters on various grounds, and finally once the product has been compiled, it has been used for various other methods as well, right? Then why we will get these ISO certification? This is very important part. Why we will get these certification? Basically, they will establish the confidence of the customer in the product. So that's why you go for ISO certification. I think this is one of the best reply to the people who want to apply for this certification. So how to get ISO certification? This is very important. We have some kind of steps which are being followed for application and review and all that, right? So you basically apply to the registrar for this, application of ISO. So we have application stage where you apply for a registrar to register your organization as a ISO certified, member. Then the registrar will pre-assess your, application. The registrar will check out various parameters which are being supplied to him, right? And registrar will issue guidelines to compile your document with the adequacy audit. So whatever document you have supplied, it has been audited, it has been reviewed, and you will go for the adequacy audit after the process has been completed. So the registrar will make some suggestions, some improvement in your process which are being not there. So you compile that, and then compliance audit basically put forward your things which has been clubbed after you have compiled all the things in a phased manner, right?
Hello, no
Compliance
voice.
audit. Compliance audit is basically very important as far as the certification is concerned. So once the compliance audit is there, you should you should issue a registration with the registrar of the ISO organizations, and you are being a member of this ISO certification community. And after that, there is a continuous surveillance of the product or the organization which is being ISO certified. So after a gap of 1 year, quarterly, or you can say after a gap of 1 year, they review your application, they review your process, they review your standards. If you compile to them, they continue with the certification. Otherwise, they will break it. So what are the shortcomings of ISO certifications? They basically focus on a process, but they do not guarantee for the quality of the product, right? And they do not give any guidelines for defining an appropriate process. If I ask to ISO what is the appropriate process to define a quality, they do not have an answer, right? So this is the shortcoming of ISO certification, because they only meet for the process which is being followed by your organization, by your um, uh, manufacturing plant, but they are not giving you guidelines to have appropriate process. So we have another very refined benchmark which is called capability maturity model, CMM, which is being followed by most of the software industry organization as a standard. So this CMM is basically issued by Software Engineering Institute US, and they have a defined structure to be implemented for the quality benchmark. So they basically help improve the quality of the product. They basically give you some benchmarks which are being followed by regular intervals, and you have been given certifications at different levels. So if I talk about CMM, they have 5 maturity levels, and these 5 maturity levels, they are very, very defined in its own manner. So if you are looking for, if you are a software company, if you are looking for some benchmark, you can go for this CMM levels, and they have a defined structure to be followed for your quality insurance part. So what are these 5 maturity levels? They will start from the initial. This is stage one. So stage one is basically the initial level. Then we have stage two repeatable, and we have stage three defined. and fourth stage is managed, and finally we have optimizing stage, the final stage of CMM level 5. Most of the top notch companies in the software servicing line, they are having level 5 CMM certifications, and if you check these the websites of these companies, they have a tag of CMM level 5. It means that they are delivering at the optimizing level, right? So this level 1 is basically initial. This is basically meet to organization which are basically without a formal process or plan, right? So if any organization is there which are not following any particular plan or particular process, they are being assessed as at the initial level, and once they have been certified at this level, they are being moved to the next level, which is called repeatable. So repeatable is basically a product definition which has been given to a particular already set standard. So if you have set a particular standard for a product, you can repeat it for the next level, because you are already doing that particular thing in a best manner. So there is no harm if you do, or if you apply that particular process for the next level, right? So if you are doing this, then you will be categorized as level 2, means level 2 CMM or repeatable kind of category, right? You will be given. Then we have a defined level. This is a level 3, which is more mature as compared to the first and second one, right? Here we will define the management and development activities for the various organizations. We have a common set of goals. You set the targets. You fix the responsibilities, rules, and all thing is defined in a very particular manner, right? And once it has been defined, you are bound to follow it. And if any organization compile to these standards, they will be given level 5 CMM certification. Then we have level 4, which is called managed. In case of managed or level 4 category of certification, qualitative goals are very important. So if you are focusing on that, you definitely qualify for that particular category. So the measured values, they are basically analyzed in a very quantitative manner, and the results are being verified across various levels and domains. So once it has been compiled, you will be given a level 4 CMM certification. Finally, we have level 5, which is called optimizing. See, this is the final, or you can say the top certification which you can adopt for any set of services, right? So optimizing is basically to deliver the TQM, total quality management, the product line, right? So in case of organization, if you are utilizing or optimizing your resources at the maximum level, if you are delivering the product at a very matured level, and your clients, especially which are using the product, they are very satisfied with your product, and they are giving a very good feedback, and along with that, you are basically optimized your whole process, means you have completed your project within budget and within time. Utilization of the resources is very important in this, right? So once you compile these levels, you will be given a CMM level 5 kind of certifications. Then we are having a comparison between ISO 9001 and CMM. How these differ? Particularly one thing is very important here is that your CMM basically aims at total quality management, right? And it addresses most of the concern of the software organizations, the organizations which are in software domain. So if a particular organization it is in software domain, so I will suggest them to go for CMM level, right, instead of ISO, because ISO is absolute for them, right? It will not work for a particular process which is being developed from a scratch or to a matured level, right? So if you are involved in a software development of a process, I suggest you, I recommend you to go for the CMM levels, and it will definitely benefit you in long term, right? Because the customer or the client basically look these type of benchmark certifications along with your product to ensure that you are delivering at optimal and best level product, right? So CMM is more mature level as compared to the ISO. Then finally, we have another set of benchmarks which are widely used in variety of manufacturing or product development lines or servicing even, which is called Six Sigma. Six Sigma is basically statistical representations, and they are being executed by various set of methods. If I talk about Six Sigma, they are very matured standards, very competitive compared to the CMM, and these Six Sigma standards, they are having have guidelines for different verticals of the business. As I told you that it can be applied to the manufacturing field or the vertical. It can be applied to the servicing field. It will be applicable to the product development also, right? So these are very significant, and they are they are in demand nowadays. So if you see at Six Sigma, so their success ratio is very competitive. So people which are at very good at mature level of delivering the product, they can apply for the Six Sigma. We have two kind of approaches which are being followed for Six Sigma. One is DMAIC, which is called Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control, and another one is DMADB, which is Define, Measure, Analyze, Design, and Verify. So difference between these two approaches is that the later one is basically is prove and control the product, which is their main part, and the later one basically focus on the design and to verify the design, right? So if you are working in development or designing of a product, you definitely go for a DMIDB approach, right? And if you are following a particular process, you're already having a set of standards, and you are not involved in any kind of designing or development of the product, you can go for a DMAIC, right? Then we have some people who are basically looking for these Six Sigma standards and benchmarks and issuing certifications to them, and they're called green belt and black belt workers, right? So these are the people who basically negotiate for the organizations, and they basically guide them to work better, to perform better, to achieve better, right? And they're all controlled by a black belt workers. They are the top notch quality insurance executives, which are already learned the highest standards of quality and how to maintain them, how to execute them. They're all controlled by these black belt workers. So they basically follow a parity chart kind of configuration. They qualitatively measure all the parts. They define the parameters, and they will evaluate them, and then we will check the performance based upon these charts, and they will give you some kind of suggestions that you can improve on this particular part, you can improve on this particular part, and finally they will achieve the benchmark once it has been established. So this is all about Six Sigma. So I think we have studied all these three benchmarks which are being there: ISO, CMM, and Six Sigma today. So I think all these parts which have been studied or followed by the industry, whether it is ISO or CMM or Six Sigma, all they are for the quality assurance part, right? So I will sum up my lecture today with the product summary. Like, we have started from evolution of the quality system, how this inspection and control, insurance, and finally it will lead to the TQM, right? Works. And then we have studied some ISO standards, which are very comprehensive in nature. They have different sets: 9001, 2, and 3, which are applicable for different set of categories. I told you back, if you are in a software organization and if you're going for a software certification in ISO, then you should apply for 9001 series, because you are in a servicing sector, and most of the companies, they apply or fall under this category, right? So similarly, 9002 is basically for the development, and 3 is basically for the testing part, right? Then CMM, we have studied what basically a capability maturity model is, and what are the various stages, right? So if you are in a software organization or software development category, right? Or if you suppose, if you are an entrepreneur, you are going to start your own kind of startup, you should go for the CMM level kind of benchmarks, and you should apply for the initial level first, right? And gradually you see that once you mature with your project or product, it will lead to CMM 5 finally. And once you are CMM level 5, your clients will put trust on your products ultimately, because it result in a particular defined product which is being globally accepted and globally claimed the standard, right? So once you compile with these benchmarks, definitely your product will get edge, right? Means it will be delivered to a particular client which is being for it, right? So even if you are not going to any kind of certification, even if your product is very good, the authenticity cannot be checked, approved without these benchmarks. So finally, we have done with the Six Sigma, which is another benchmark and very significant. They are getting very good type of response from the industry. And Six Sigma, professionals, executives, they are in demand always, and they basically help certify certification of the quality products for the organization. And this is one of the most sought certification after CMM. So today we have sum up with the kind of quality insurance things which is being part of the software industry. But I told you earlier that quality is basically subjective in nature, right? Quality is being applied for any kind of product which you use in your daily life. So even if you are going to buy any kind of product, you basically look for the quality. So ultimately depend upon the customer's perspective, whether the customer will rate you best one or bad one, right? But in the case of software industry, which is very competitive domain, repeat business is very important. And until unless you qualify for the quality benchmarks, repeat business would not be there. The clients which are already there, they will they will not go along with you if you are not providing the best quality of the product. So thank you so much for patience listening to my this lecture. I hope you have enjoyed it and listened it carefully. And if you have any kind of queries, you can ask. And you can reach me at my email ID. My email ID is psman@hotmail.com. And you can also go through my YouTube channel, which is Learn to Exceed. I just launched this channel in last month, and I will be putting videos on academics and other fronts which have been beneficial for the students. And I will be coming up with a new video series for the undergrad and postgrad and different kind of set of students. And definitely the motivation, which is my favorite part. Because I think that education without motivation is not word. You should motivate the students to do best. So motivation videos will also be part of my channel. So please subscribe it. And if you have any queries, you can ask now. Thank you. Over to
Yes, sir.
Anupama.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very informative session. Yeah.
Okay, thank
So we have some questions in the chat box window.
you. Okay. Sure, you can ask.
So we can, yeah, so we can take them one by one.
Okay, no
So
problem.
the first question is from Shrey Mehta, sir. So he's asking, is there any significant role of R&R in software quality assurance?
See, basically, the thing is that we have separate department which is called quality insurance, right? Once you develop the product, it has been supplied to the quality insurance department, and it is up to them how they will judge it. They have quality professionals. They have professionals with experience which are being working there for the past 15 to 20 years in the domains. So it is their task to ensure the quality of the product, right? Even if you develop a good quality of the product in the in your labs or in your research facilities, it has not been certified on the quality front. So you should follow the SOP, which is to give that product to the quality assurance department, and they will tell you whether it is of the optimal quality or not.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So next question again from Shrey, sir. He's
Okay.
asking, there has been upgradation in ISO 9001 2008 and
Yes, yes,
ISO 9001 2015.
yes.
So could you comment on that?
See, the thing is that updation with the ISO is not a new thing, right? They keep on updating their standards. But I will tell you frankly, ISO certification now obsolete, right? They are now obsolete. People are not going for that because their process and the guidelines they are being absolute in the market in today's world. Shreyas is very right that they have updating their standard from various channels and various for product lines. But the thing is that I will make you aware that these guidelines or standards, right? They are not having that type of relevance which other certification like CMM and Six Sigma has in today's world, right?
Okay. So one
So
thing more, could you stop sharing your screen
okay,
presentation so that you can be
just
on screen and people can feel
okay,
more interactive?
no
Yeah.
issue. I'm here. Is it okay?
Yeah, fine, sir. Now it's perfect, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you can ask more
Yeah, so
questions. I am open to it.
yeah. So next question again from Shrey, sir. He's
Shrey is
asking,
okay. I want to know about Shrey. Shrey is doing a PhD or something. He's a student or
Shrey, would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah. Shrey, you can unmute yourself and directly interact with sir. Yeah.
First of all,
hello. Yes,
can you hear me, sir?
yes.
Audible, Shrey.
Please.
Yeah, hello, Rishabh. Hi, Anupama. Hi. So so I'm pursuing of the PhD in quality assurance only.
Oh, great, great,
Yeah.
great, great.
So my research work has been in Six Sigma and Lean implementation.
Okay, great.
So basically, people are consistently working on DMAC and DMADV,
Yes,
which
yes,
is
yes, yes.
focusing on statistical quality control.
Okay,
And apart from that, SOPs and ISO upgradation from 9001, 2008 to
okay,
2015, sir.
okay.
Apart from that, we basically working on CPM and PERT also when we talk
Part
about
also, yeah.
quality assurance. Yeah.
Okay, right, right.
So since I
Okay,
saw your
yes,
topic
yes,
was on software quality assurance, so
yes.
that was in my particular domain only. So
Okay,
that's why I thought ki let's have a discussion more
yes,
briefly when we talk about the quality assurance.
yes.
So
Uh,
next thing which was, hello, yes, sir.
yeah, Shrey, you continue. Yeah, continue. There is a audio noise behind your Yes, you can continue.
Yeah.
Continue with your
So I was thinking ki when we talk about the quality assurance,
yes,
repeatability and reproducibility plays a vital role in terms of
exactly,
when we are analyzing a particular process or
exactly.
of a software or whatever a product is being made.
Yes, exactly.
Can you just like suggest? Can you just yeah?
See, why these things are important. No, see, the thing is that repetitive things will make us better. We learn from our past experience, right? And if you employ that type of things, which is already being at matured level, right, which is being repeated, then there is no harm, right? You see, in the case of software industry, what happens that we have reusability of the code, right? If you have heard it, reusability. So what reusability is? Basically, we are serving to various clients. I will give you example. Suppose we have vendors whose Infosys, right? So Infosys is serving to cross verticals like from automobiles, from manufacturing, for IT, healthcare, and all type of things, right? Suppose if they are serving to some financial sector, suppose if they are serving to some financial domain like some banking sector or some kind of structure which is on share trading and all that, so that will be a different sector. Suppose in case of banking also they have different clients, like they have PNB might be their client, they have SBI their client, they have HDFC their client, right? So they may have 4 or 5 clients in their lineup. So what they do, they basically use the code which is already being developed and serve it to different customers. So this is just like you keeping your base same, and different toppings has been applied to different clients to serving them the pizza which is being there, right? So the base remains the same. So why this base remains the same? Because it helps them to reuse the code to to shrink their effort which is already being applied, right? So reusability or repeatability will ensure that whatever you have already done, right, it is at the mature level. You just serve it with a different kind of user interface, set of functionalities, and serve to your client within that domain, right? So it will serve them better. It will optimal utilization of the resources is there, right? So it will benefit them to complete their project within budget and with more profitability. That's why this terms in repeatability and in case of traceability, it is being used applied for the quality assurance parts, so that which is already being done, or which is already being at matured level, you can use it for your own sake. Thank you.
Okay. So one more question I need to ask you.
No issue, you can.
Yeah. What is the role of the t-test or when we talk about the statistical test we are implementing?
Oh,
So
see,
what is
they
the
are all yeah. See, they are all quantitative measures, right? Basically,
right?
what you see is that you basically draw some analytical modeling for a particular set of organizations organization or working of the organizations, right? So in case of manufacturing, what you do is you have to you have to calculate the time which has been spent on a on a particular job, right, for the assembly, right? And in assembly again you have different parts. So you need to have some analytical model and you have to quantify it. So you basically use that type of models for assess your progress, assess your job. And if there is some correlation between them, if you have a good analytical model which is being supplied, it will tell you that what is the perfect time to complete this job, right? And today we are having this kind of things which are AI enabled. So you need not to define any type of analytical model, is already there. We have supervised learning, we have some kind of product which is already being supplied there. The past learning is there, so you definitely apply that type of products and that type of supplies kind of environments, which ultimately give you results for a better quantitative quantitatively qualify for a particular product, right? So they are not applied to the all kind of organization or the product lines, but for a specific one.
So what do you think? SOPs will be the new trend when we
Yes,
talk about
yes.
quality
SOP
assurance.
is very important. SOP is very important. I always stress on the SOP. Once you set the SOP, like I will give you example of the current situation which is being there at HAL, right? So what
Mhm.
IAF is IAF's done. IAF has basically floated a tender for multi-role multi-engine jets, right? So HAL has applied for that, or because HAL is already working on a phase of stages, as you are aware of that. So once Tejas, has been, checked under the guidelines of, IAF, the SOP of IAF has been, followed to cross check it. They tell them various loopholes that particular project, right? So the SOP of IAF was very having a very high benchmarks that HL was not having. So what they have done, they have given them instructions to improve them, right? So now IF is basically pressing for the improved version of stages, which is Mark 1, if you have heard in the news, right? Yesterday the next the one skeleton is already there. The second skeleton has been added to this IF, right, yesterday. And in that schedule you see that the capability has been measured at a very improved manner because the SOP of IAF has been compiled, right? And the better version has been there for the IAF, right? And in the next stage, when they are procuring the jets from HAL, they have given more standardization, and they are including in the Mark 1 kind of version of stages. So definitely they work, right? So SOP, if a better SOP is there, definitely you follow it and you serve it to your clients, right? And it will ultimately help to improve the quality of the products.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Really, I am really, very impressed by the questions we have asked. They are very, questions are very mature, nature, and definitely it basically reflect your reasoning capabilities, right? I wish you best of luck for your PhD and research.
Yeah, same goes to you, sir. Same goes to you.
So thank you so much indeed. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank this IEEE team, Anupama and Rishabh for calling such sessions. Huh? Thank you so much, Anupama.
So
Thank
I
you.
really acknowledge the contribution of
IEEE team is doing quite well because they are like gathering so many people out here, so we can basically get interaction with each other and try to learn more and more. So
Yes,
basically,
exactly,
thank you so much.
exactly. This is what the technology is built for. See, if you do not raise question, if you do not raise queries, you do not, listen, you cannot understand the thing because it is communication is always, full duplex. It is not half duplex, right?
Yeah,
So
true,
it
sir.
is
True.
not delivering the lecturer, but to, getting the queries done, right? So
Exactly,
I
exactly.
really appreciate this thing. The team of IEEE student branch, especially Anupama, is playing a very good role here. So I really
Yeah.
acknowledge that. I really acknowledge that. Right.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you, team.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shrey. So, sir, there are more 2, 3 questions in the chat box.
No issue.
Yeah.
No issue.
So,
I
next
can.
question is from Swati. Yeah, next question is from Swati. She's asking what are the basic parameters that should be taken in the research to get CMM?
Okay, see, well, CMM is at a very mature, level, right? I told you back, it is very matured as compared to ISO. It is not very easy to get it right. So I suggest you involve some consultancy firm if your organization is going for CMM level, right? I told you example that if you are starting a startup, suppose if you are a very initial level, you do not follow a particular process, you go for the initial level. But again, for the initial level, you need some consultancy, you need some guidance from various fronts. So I suggest you to go for some consultancy and apply at the initial level. Once you are compiled with the initial level, definitely you will be assessed at the second or the next level, right? So basically you apply at the initial level, and you should have some consultancy from the organization which are providing it. There are so many consultancy firms which are being giving guidance and suggesting measures to adopt CMM, right? Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. How to
Yes.
apply for the consultancy? Means I don't know the procedure.
No, no, see, for consultancy, you need not to apply. Consultancy is all basically a paid job, right? Basically, you have to look for some consultancy people or firms who are going, providing these kind of sets. Suppose if you going for a very high level, suppose if your organization is very mature level, right? You can go for KPMG, Deloitte, and these kind of things firms, but they really charge very high. But if you are at very initial level, you basically look for some organization which are providing these, guidelines and giving you some suggestion at very affordable price. So I suggest you to look, search into what are your requirements, and you can choose from various consultancy firms, right, based upon your affordability.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you so much. Yes, any other query?
Yeah, there's another question from a anonymous person in the chat box window. So
Sure.
he's asking, could you throw some light on CMM for researchers in agriculture sector?
Okay, great. See, this is a very good question. Agriculture or farming is a kind of domain or vertical which is now maturing, right? See, you are having having an outlook where you can have a kind of business which involves farming. I will give you some example of some businesses which are directly B2B or B2C. Like you have big basket, you have kind of model which is procuring the things from the farmers and delivering to the customers. So they are delivering it based on their own platform, right? But they are involving some kind of people who are related or directly or indirectly to the farming. So main thing is that whether you are concerned for the direct application of CMM at this farming sector, or you are talking about indirect any kind of structure. If you're talking about the direct structure, there is no organized way to channelize the farming or agriculture business, because whatever the farmers produce, they basically ultimately sell to the wholesale dealers, and then it goes to the retailers, right? So but we have some application, or we have some organizations which can be involved as a bridge to procure directly from the farms and serve to the the customers, right? And for that type of organization, we can have CMM level, right? Because CMM can be applicable to any kind of services or any kind of product development. It is not only meant for the software. The mainly thing is that you should set a base, right? You should set a kind of model which can apply to the farming sector and directly related to them, and indirectly it may involve the retail customer as well. So if you are having that kind of model, then there is no issue. But if you are going to relate something, something this to the indirect model, then there are ISO certification which can be applicable to any kind of job. Because CMM is particularly built for the software industry, right? Thank you. Yes, over to Anupama. Any other question, please? I'm open to it.
Uh,
I'm not hearing you, Anupama.
yeah.
I'm not hearing you, Anupama.
Hello.
Please. I'm not hearing you. Yes, yes, yes. Now you can ask.
Yes. Yes, sir. So there is one question from Niranjan, sir. Last question in the chat box window. So he's asking how quality assurance in software impact a research scholar, analysis work, or data interpretation.
Yes, well, this is a good question indeed. See, the thing is that when you are involved in some kind of research, and especially you are working on some quality assurance part, then it is very important to assess it quantitatively and qualitatively, right? You basically check the process, right? You basically you know set some standards, some benchmarks, or improve them, right? Because the guidelines are very important. I have given you example of IF, how they have given a standard SOP, and it has changed the whole process of HAL, right? Particularly. So the same thing is there. I will be giving you another example on this particular line, right? We have heard a case of Boeing 787 Max, which has been created a hoax in all over the world, because there are three major accidents or crashes of aircraft due to some software technical snag. The issue was that there are some sensors in the aircraft which are not basically working properly, and once you are ready for the takeoff, the control, it become out of control, right? So the issue is with the software, not with the hardware or the aircraft in itself. So it has dampened their sales. So many clients, they have refused to take 737 and 787 Max aircraft. That's 8 standards, right, for them. So what they did, they basically improved their SOP. They have worked on to improve on their SOP. They have consulted various researchers how we can optimize the process to improve our production and improve our software. The software is already at the optimized stage, so it needs some specific guidelines to be improved further calibrations. So once the data has been analyzed from cockpit recorder and voice recorder that has been in the black box, various things has been there. The one thing they have found that the pilots, they are not very well trained to operate their software. See, this is the bottleneck. Even if you are delivered the best product, the customers, the particular people who are operating the machines, they are not well equipped or well trained use that particular software, right? So that will be a big cost to the company as well as the organization. So the people who are involved in research, I suggest them to work on to improve how we can improve the set of standards, benchmarks, as well as SOP for a particular product. That will benefit in the longer run to the different organization, right? Over to Anupama.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So now I request anyone who want to directly interact with sir, so they can unmute themselves and we can have a direct interaction.
Yes, sure.
As I'm not able to find any more question in the chat box window, but anyone who want to personally interact, they can raise their hand or unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Just I wanted to ask one question on this. The quality assurance and quality circles and ISO 9000 and Six Sigma. Some of the countries like Japan and USA and other Germany, they say that no, we are the beyond this thing. What is ISO Six Sigma?
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
how because they say that no, we are producing a zero defect at the basic level itself. The operator himself will check the things, and then they will give a zero defect product in software, and then that will be connected to the customer also checks that one, and then between the customer and operator is a better know that why all these things is required. I don't say that no, I am required or something like that, but they say that
Okay,
they say that beyond this quality.
I understand your concern, Reddy sir. I think you are Subramaniam Reddy sir.
Sir,
Your good name is your good name, sir.
my name is Subramania Reddy, Dr. Subramania.
Yes, Dr. Reddy, I really agree with your concerns. one thing is very important. You have given the example of Germany, Japan. They are not going to follow any kind of standards, or see, they do not want to compile with any kind of standards, because the thing is that they know that they are already established, or their products are already well defined in the market. If you talk about the German, is they are very pioneer in the automobile sector, right? And if I talk about the Japanese, they are already pioneer in the electronic sector. So if a product is made of Japan, or if a automobile is from German, the customer completely blindly follow their kind of product, and they purchase it, right? This is the one thing. But if you see that if you see that country like India, we also have some set of organizations or companies which do not want to compile with these standards. I will give you one example. If you buy a pressure cooker of Hawkins, you never find a ISI mark on them, right? Why? Because they do not want to follow it. They do not want to adopt it. They already said that our product is of matured standards, and this is the loyalty of the customer which are basically giving them the repeat business. So if you go out to find out ISA mark on a Hawkins product, you never find it out, right? Because this is already established one, and they are already at matured level, and they believe on their products. This is another level, right? So it all depend upon the organization itself, on their products, as well as the loyalty of the customers, right? So if the customers are already having a loyalty on the product, if I have to go for a kitchen appliance of pressure cooker, like pressure cooker, I will, my first choice is of Hawkins, right? And I never ask for the ISI mark and something like that, if they have or not, right? So this is the case. This is the case, right? So if you are going to adopt these benchmarks, it is up to you. But at that type of things, you should have a established product, established brand, established name among the customers, because ultimately your quality has been assessed by the customers, not by any other organization, right? Thank you, Dr. Reddy, for a great question.
Dr. Reddy, can I say something? Dr. Reddy, can I say something?
Yes, what I mean is that once I see that complete the chain of the Department of Quality Assurance and Quality Circles, it is a big department in the company, just like Bharat Electronics and chair.
Yes.
And all processes and rechecking and checking and rechecking is happening. One person will produce the product, and checking the other person, the person who initiates and develops the product himself, he is the better man to control the quality of a product, rather than the third person is coming who is not knowing anything, only procedural kind of activity going on, and only paperwork is going on there. That is they say that is not required, in fact.
Yes. Your concern is very appropriate. But thing is that, sir, this is a kind of kind of a process, right? Where it is believed that we cannot check our own errors, right? If we have done something, we cannot check our own errors. Our errors can be checked by someone else, right? So this happened in software industry. A particular module has been built by some one team, and it has been cross-checked by other team, right? So it basically ensure the productivity and compile with the quality assurance. But you are also right that if some person is already aware with the things, who is developing the product, he is much better can tell you the quality of the product indeed. So this is on the both way, right?
Dr. Reddy, Dr. Reddy, I want to say something.
Sure, Mr.
Yes,
Sher.
go ahead.
During 90s, 60s, and 70s, if we look about the Maruti and Toyota, so they were focusing mainly on the quality, not on the quantity of the product, basically.
Okay.
So what exactly, if you follow one book, it is written by the Kaizen Group Institute, Pune. It's a
Correct.
book named Gamba Kaizen.
Correct.
According to the book, the author want to simply focus that the if a person want to know about the defect, okay, so one must follow the Gamba walk. So if you are following a Gamba, you are getting into the process how from where it is being started and from where it is being ended. You will get to know from where the variation is coming into a process.
Correct.
Okay, so one must follow follow the Gamba walk should be there to know exactly about the defect in a process or in a product. Okay, so once you will get a Gamba walk, you will get to know exactly the variation where exactly it is existing out.
Yes, this may be one of the case. Yes.
Yeah, what I mean, I'm not denying that, quality product we should not produce and recheck in, check it. But no, the problem is that because some countries or some products are beyond this quality assurance.
Yes,
Because an
yes,
operator
exactly.
level itself, they produce zero
Exactly,
defect
exactly.
product.
Exactly. I
Then what
agree.
is the use of checking and rechecking other people?
Dr. Reddy, but this thing is not applicable to all organization and all products, basically, right? This is the bottleneck because you cannot, make sure that every organization or every, manufacturing, plant, they will produce the same quality of products. So sometimes it is important to, give some benchmarks. Like in case of the food products, we should have FSSAI, right? So if you have some kind of, certification or BIS certification, then you should be sure that definitely these things are optimal level, right? Or the good quality.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the food products and the lower level products. I'm talking about the software testing and then
Okay.
high product space components testing, and then
Dr. Reddy,
I'm talking about the defense
yes,
testing, and then I'm talking
yes,
about rather HAL and BEL, and those people adopted this ISO 9000
yes,
only for certification purpose.
yes, you're right.
I'm telling you, truly listen me, sir. I have involved in that since beginning. I know the
Correct.
paperwork is so huge,
Yes.
and then base bottom level, is,
Actually,
nobody
yes,
is following that. The rules they are on the chart.
Dr.
So
Reddy, I completely agree with your point. I will give you some example. One example was of Satyam Computers, right? Satyam was assessed at CM level 5 at their time, right? They have won the Golden Pickup Award for the quality. Even then, there is a manipulation in their accounts, and you know the fate of this company, right? And the auditor, which was PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, very big consulting firm, they have big name. They have audited their accounts, and everything goes down. Even if they are having the best certification, doesn't mean that they are following the quality procedure. I agree with Dr. Reddy.
okay, thank you, sir. I'm sorry for the wasted your time. I think look
No,
like.
no, you have not wasted. You are basically utilizing my time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your.
Oh, very nice to talk to Dr. Reddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other participant who would like to directly interact with Sir? So we have time. We can have some more discussions.
Yes, anybody can have a set of their suggestions, not in fact questions as well. If they have something to suggest me or
Yeah,
how
we
to
can have
improve.
interaction. No issue.
If there are some shortcomings in my presentation, please tell me so that I can improve in the next presentation anywhere else. Really, I am open to the critics as well.
Just I want to know that other than this, excuse me that again I'm Dr. Reddy speaking. Other than these Taguchi methods and TQM and all housekeeping methods and all whatever Japan is initiated near about 20 years back, we are following it. Now, may I know that what are the things they are following at other countries in the quality is concerned?
If you look at CMM, right, this is basically global standard for the software industry, and it is being followed by most of the countries, including US, because it is being initiated or it is being celebrated from US, UC Berkeley, right? And if you talk about countries like Japan, I already told you that they have set benchmarks and their products are already established. And if you talk about Germany or the some European countries, they are already having some defined products which are already established. So I think it is not appropriate to say that they are forced to follow some benchmarks because their products are already at the benchmark level. They're already defined, already categorized, and customer has a faith on them. If you take the case of Apple, this is having the largest market population in US, indeed. And the main thing about that particular organization is that they have stressed, or they have invested a lot of billion of dollars in their R&D and to set the standards, right? So if you talk about product from Apple, they do not need any certifications indeed, and they do not go for kind of certification even, right? So this is basically the reason, because they already have loyalty of the customers. Their brand is already established, and they are already following a set of standards. But the same thing is not applicable to the companies which are from China. We have seen so many companies having a product from China. They are not of that quality. But if China is manufacturing something for Apple, then definitely it is of good quality, because they have to set the SOP for that particular product. If that has not been done, obviously Apple will never give contract to the Foxconn or something else, right? So it all depend upon to the product to product and organization to organization, and mainly to the customers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddy.
So, sir, I believe there are no more discussions pending. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us today and for your very insightful talk. And our participants really enjoyed it, because I can see so many appreciative comments in the chat box window.
Oh,
So thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Really,
So before we, yes, sir.
really, I appreciate. Thank you. I really appreciate and efforts, and I acknowledge you all people. You are doing a very great job, because in the at the time of COVID-19 and pandemic, we are all stuck with the at homes, and we do not have much much to learn about the new things. But initiative like these IEEE virtual talks, they definitely make things easier for others to learn, others to understand, and definitely it will be a utilization of the time and the space which has been given
Yes,
to
sir.
us by nature, right? Because
Yes,
this
sir.
is everything is new to us, right? This type of situation has never been faced by anyone, anywhere in the world. So if this type of space and time has been given to us, it has been utilized, and I think it is better utilized by the talks which has been initiated by your institute and IEEE wing of student branch. And so I really thank to all people who are behind the scene, and especially you who make it because
Yes.
you are the lead part, you are organizing all these things. So I really appreciate and thank you so much for all kind of support that you have given to me. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So I acknowledge my team. Yeah, I acknowledge my IEEE team for supporting